Welcome back. You're watching France 24. Coming up, 2 fewer public holidays, a freezing of non-defense spending in 2026. France's Prime Minister unveils plans to fill a nearly 44 billion euro shortfall in next year's budget. Also, Bayrou's minority government could fall when Parliament picks up the matter in the fall. We'll be asking our politics editor, Marc Perelman, about that. We're also joined in this edition by economist Théo Iberrakene. Thank you for being with us. In other news, EU states failing to adopt a new round of sanctions on Russia, with Slovakia playing the spoiler. The bloc's foreign ministers also huddling on their response to a threat of 30% tariffs by the United States. Correspondent Dave Keating in Brussels has the latest. Global warming, well, up to a point. It's still cool conditions for the annual North Pole Marathon. Selena Sykes will be here with all of the day's sports news. Wanted 43.8 billion euros to fill France's huge budget deficit. The Prime Minister spelling out some of the measures that he's considering. François Bayrou speaking as Parliament currently is in recess. He has a minority government which could fall once he puts these measures up for a vote. They include freezing non-defense spending for the year 2026.
Ça n'existe pas. La dette de notre pays représente aujourd'hui plus de 3 300 milliards d'euros.
Our country's debt now stands at over 3,300 billion euros. That's 114% of our annual national product, which means that this debt represents more than a year's worth of everything our country has produced in all its agricultural, industrial, intellectual, commercial, health and care activities. The debt exceeds it by at least 2 whole months, and the more the debt increases, the more it's a double-edged sword.
La dette le dépasse de au moins 2 mois entiers. Et plus la dette s'accroît, plus c'est la double peine.
Marc Perelman, for those who don't know him, France's Prime Minister is a veteran of French politics, and he has said that this is the fight of his life, this budget battle. The French don't like budget deficits, but they don't like tightening their belt either.
No, they don't like budget cuts. No one likes budget cuts. But the Prime Minister has been speaking about this for years, decades before, long before he became Prime Minister. He's always said we're addicted here in France to public expenditure. And now he's saying, now is the time. It's late, but not too late. It's probably our last chance to straighten our financial situation because the debt and the deficit are getting out of control. We're spending much more on debt servicing than we should because we need to still have a strong welfare state, and this cannot stand. And so this is why he announced a 4-year plan to bring down the deficit from 5.6% of the GDP this year to 2.8% in 2029. Why 2.8%? Because he says this is the level where we stop paying for the debt more than for anything else. So he says this is a major effort. And so it's a Churchillian discourse, if you want, blood, sweat and tears. But he said, we have nothing to lose. We're a minority government. We might be thrown out very soon. But at least we should tell the French the truth, and we should try to address the challenges and not go around them like has been done in previous decades. From the first reactions we're hearing from the opposition, it's going to be a very complicated task in the National Assembly. Both the left and the National Rally has said, those proposals are a non-starter for us. And if you remember, his predecessor, Michel Barnier, was kicked out of the prime ministership when there was a vote on the budget. So clearly, François Bayrou has already proposed what he's going to do. There's still weeks to go, maybe to negotiate, to be able to build a majority in this very fractious parliament, but the odds are clearly against him.
Is he better at spinning it than his predecessor?
Well, we'll see. He is hoping that by acting early, that is July 15th, when Parliament will only take up the issue in September, October, he is maybe having some wiggle room to negotiate. For example, he's talking about eliminating 2 national holidays, May 8th, which is the end of World War II, and Easter Monday. He said, he already indicated, well, this can be negotiated. And obviously, the opposition is already saying, this is unacceptable. Those 2 days are sacred, quote unquote. We won't accept this. So the negotiations are already beginning. In this essence, he has some time. Until now, he never had time. He has several weeks. There's going to be the summer break to cool everyone down. Maybe he will be able to build, if not a majority, at least not a majority against him, and be able to survive. But it's a major, major gamble because he's asking a lot.
All right, Théo Iberrakene, thank you for being with us. You teach at the French Political Science Institute, Sciences Po. You heard Marc Perelman there say the word summer break soon. Playing to stereotypes here, the uproar already over scrapping 2 public holidays. There are 11 in France. There's actually more in Germany. There's 13. But the stereotype that the French are always on a break or on vacation, is it true or not?
Well, I don't know whether it is true or not. It's a stereotype. I think though, because I mean, in my life, I've had the opportunity to work in other countries, and I don't feel like there is a huge difference in terms of working hours when you compare similar countries, similar advanced economies. So I think this stereotype is a bit. It's an easy way to avoid tackling real issues, in my view.
I want to get back later to what Marc was talking about, which is how the Prime Minister sells it to the public, this idea of blood, sweat, and tears. But at the heart of this 43.8 billion euro budget shortfall that has to be made up, you've been working on a project where you've been looking at inequality.
Yes.
Income inequality, and also where the money is. And what we've seen in France, the trend is obviously the money goes toward the richer you are, the more money you make. But there's also a trend which is the older you are, the more money you make.
Yeah, it's true. This is due to the fact that wealth has increased compared to revenue. And we have this phenomenon that is called the Great Wealth Transfer that we are experiencing in all the advanced economies. In France, we estimate that 9,000 billion euros are going to be transferred by the generation of baby boomers that is wealthier than the youngest because they had time to build wealth, and this big wealth will be transferred in the next 15 years. So that's why we wrote this report to address this issue. Because we think that here there is a source of revenue, of tax revenue, that can be interesting to investigate at least.
The good news is we're living longer.
Yes.
The bad news is we're living longer because the average age at which people inherit, I read somewhere it was like 61 now in France.
Back in the days, you were inheriting at a moment during which you needed this money to launch your life, to buy your first house. It's no longer the case today in France. And on top of that, inheritance is unequally distributed. You have 50% of the population that will inherit of less than 70,000 euros, and the top 1% of the population will inherit of more than 30 million euros. So here there is a huge issue in terms of inequality, but also in terms of values, in terms of what we want for our society. Do we want to give value to labor? Because if inheritance has such a place in the economy, then labor has less place. So that's why we make this proposal.
And so on this proposal,
yes.
How do you do it? What is it? A higher inheritance tax? Is it taxing pensioners? How do you do it?
It's a two-leg reform, basically. The first leg is about reforming the base and the rates of the current inheritance tax so that it only impacts the top 1% of the wealth distribution. This is the first leg. Second leg is about taxing unrealized gains at death, which is actually unrealized gains are taxed in all the countries basically. France is it's an exception in regard to that issue, and we estimate that we can raise 400 billion euros in the next 15 years and 20 billion euros from 2026. So these are huge amounts that at least needs to be discussed in the public debate. I don't say it is the panacea, this is the only solution, this is not our argument, but we feel like we need to have an informed public debate, and I'm happy to see that even people from the center of the political spectrum, like the president of the National Assembly, Yael Braun-Pivet, said that she was open to such a measure to finance the budget.
Now here's the problem, Marc Perelman. 1 out of every 3 French people over the age of 18 are over the age of 60, but 1 out of every 2 who votes are over 60. The older French people have outsized power. Do you see these proposals going anywhere with this current legislature?
I don't see it with the current government. I listened carefully to the Prime Minister. I didn't hear a word about this. Clearly because there is something that Emmanuel Macron wants.
He talked about it last week, though, Bayrou, about it.
Yes, but the President has said one of my legacies is no higher taxes. And there's nothing that will happen that will make me go back on this promise that I've implemented. And so this is why the Prime Minister repeated today, we don't want higher taxation. France already has a record level of taxation. There's no reason why he would. Then, when he goes into the details, he did say, this was also proposed before, that there would be a special contribution by the super wealthy. This is, if I translate, this is a special tax for the ultra wealthy. There will be also less tax credits for pensioners. There was a 10% tax rebate they could get for professional expenses. By definition, if you're retired, you don't have professional expenses, but they still got 10%. And the Prime Minister said, this will be adjusted because we don't feel it's fair and everyone should participate to this national effort to reduce the debt. But despite those adjustments, which are rather marginal, there's no way there'll be more taxes, be on inheritance taxes or other taxes, because this is against the mantra of the president. He only has 2 years remaining, and he will not abandon this.
All right, so Théo, Iberrakene, if you're whispering into the Prime Minister's ear, how do you sell this?
I would say that we have big challenges ahead, and even the baby boomers generation is aware of those big challenges, whether it is the war in Ukraine, whether it is climate, and it's about the world that they want to leave to their children. And even if you inherit, I don't know, of a house that is worth 2 million euros or something like that, it has no value in a world where there is war. It has no value in a world where climate change is destroying everything. So this is really about what the current generation, what they want to leave to their children. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people could hear this argument.
Théo, Iberrakene, so many thanks for being with us here on France 24. Thanks as well to Marc Perelman, our politics editor. Théo